Welcome back to the Put Yourself First podcast. Welcome to February. I hope you are loving the video podcast if you listen on Spotify, or maybe you're listening on YouTube now. I would love to know in the comments. You can actually now respond to the podcast on Spotify as well, which is really cool. So if you wanna, there should be a little note at the bottom of the episode that says, what did you think of this episode? And you can respond directly to it and it'll come direct to me. So I do receive that feedback. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, I would love you to leave a rating and review if you've not already. If you screenshot the review before you submit it, in February, am going to be recording a bespoke meditation visualization just for podcast reviewers. So if you screenshot that and email us at support@horrocks.com with the podcast review, obviously if it's like a 1-star podcast review, I'm not going to send you the meditation. But I can't tell you what stars to give, I can't tell you what to say. But obviously, it really does make a massive difference sharing your views on the podcast. I'm sure many of you know, being that I know many business owners listen, and obviously if you listen to podcasts, you understand how massive podcasting is. There are so many podcasts now, and if you tune in to Put Yourself First every week, it really does make a difference to let other people know that, let other people know why you love it, all that good stuff. So with that being said, our bonus episode for today is why discipline is an act of self-love. A lot of the talk online around putting yourself first, around self-care, speaks to like slowing down and stopping doing something, or saying no to something, or like cancelling plans so that you can rest, or saying no to a work project because you've got too much on. And I think that is a huge part of it. And discipline is as well. Knowing when you taking the time to do something, or I should say making the time or prioritizing the use of your time to do something is going to benefit you. That is an act of self-love. And something that I find really helpful to know which one to choose, if you're in a spot where you're like, do I cancel this plan today because I am tired and I don't want to go? Or do I kind of have the discipline, have the momentum behind me to essentially make myself go, get myself up and get myself ready and go? Is that going to be better for me? And so if you've ever been stuck in that question, that dilemma, then this podcast episode will give you some insight and really more like self-awareness with this question the next time that happens to you. So the question is, am I choosing my present self or my future self in this moment? Because sometimes we need to choose our present self, because our present self doesn't want to tick off that action step from our to-do list. Our present self needs to rest, or needs to cancel plans, or needs to, take a rest day and not go to the gym, or whatever it might be. Our present self may very well need to do that. And in making that decision, we are ultimately being a friend to our future self, because resting now is going to mean that future you waking up tomorrow after getting an early night, or not going to that event, or taking extra time off work, or not going to the gym, is ultimately going to feel more energy, be more productive, all of that good stuff. And there's another timeline, right? There's another situation where doing that in this moment is actually going to hinder your future self, because it's going to have some sort of knock-on impact or carryover. And so that question, right, am I choosing my current self? Am I choosing my present self or my future self with this decision, is a really great one to consider what the need, ultimately, like what the needs are and what the benefits are going to be from either not doing the thing or doing the thing. Because there is another timeline, like I said, where it's actually more loving and kinder to yourself to do the damn thing. And this is where as well I feel like the self-care conversation can intertwine itself almost like inconspicuously with self-sabotage. Because if you are someone who regularly lets yourself down, and I've worked with many clients as well who have this constant perfectionism that they put on themselves, all or nothing, and at the same time regularly let themselves down because they put their expectations of themselves way up here on the ceiling, and they're never going to meet that expectation. Letting yourself down in these small moments is sending this signal that is who you are, that is your standard, that is the expectation you have of yourself, and that is hindering your confidence, it's hindering the trust you have in yourself, it's hindering your energy. Because if you think about it, if you regularly tell yourself you're going to do something and then don't do it, what does that say to yourself, about yourself, how you are ultimately treating yourself? And I think this is where discipline and devotion to something, to getting something done, to doing the damn thing, can be ultimately the most loving and compassionate and kind thing you can do for yourself. And to not do that thing and to cancel or say no is not serving you. It's not serving where you want to be going. It's not serving your goals. It's not serving your well-being. And we have to become comfortable with towing that line, that ultimately you have to learn for yourself what that true answer is for you, in terms of, does my current self genuinely need this right now? Or am I doing this because it feels comfortable, because it's within my comfort zone, because it's a coping strategy to not have to do that thing? And it's ultimately feeding a cycle of procrastination or self-sabotage or something else. And it's hindering future me. But let's use a few examples. We'll do a life one and then a work one. We all know we have those days where you are tired and you can't be bothered going to the gym. And there are certainly weeks and days where I will cancel my workouts for the week and not go to the gym, especially if, let's say, I'm on my period or I've not slept well. Those are weeks, those are moments where it would actually hinder my current self for me to to essentially force myself to go to the gym, and it would actually be putting me more at risk of injury. My performance would be worse. I'm better placed resting, sleeping more, like getting an earlier night, or, instead having a bath or going for a walk or doing something that's more gentle for myself. But there are certainly weeks where if I didn't go to the gym, I would have less energy, I would sleep worse. Let's say it's a week in my life and I'm using the excuse that I have a lot of work to do, but really, like, I'm not on my period, I've slept well, I'm in good health. Like, there are all these signs point to you're fine to go to the gym. Going to the gym is going to be a good thing. But I can use the excuse that I need to cancel the gym because I'm prioritising my work. But actually in that decision, in that scenario, the discipline of, no girl, like, get your ass up off that desk, we're going to the gym, is more loving and kinder and more compassionate to me and my future self than essentially not going and dressing it up as I need rest or I need self-care. Another example is work. We've all had those moments where, let's say you're looking for a new job or you're working on a side hustle in the evening. So it's like outside of your regular working hours, you have things to do. You will get home from work that day and your brain will be telling you, oh, you're tired today. You know what? Like, you deserve some rest. You deserve to just chill, like, we'll do that tomorrow. Tonight, like, just rest. And again, it's that very fine line between, do you actually need that? Or is the discipline of spending half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of your evening, boxing off that project or sitting and applying for that job that you saw on LinkedIn or doing that important task in your business? I'll even do this if I've worked all day or I've had a full week, or even if it's the weekend, say, if it's going to help me, especially if it's going to aid future me more, for me to work until 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or do an hour or two at the weekend, if that decision is going to move me forward and aid future me in getting to where she's going to be, and it's not in this moment going to like hinder my energy or well-being, and I'm perfectly capable, and I know if I was true of myself, I was capable of doing that. Those decisions, that moment of, yeah, I've worked a bit late tonight, or I've got this extra hour of work done, that can be self-love, that can be self-care even. Sometimes doing something difficult that you've been putting off is self-care. It's not always just saying no or just resting. And I think we have to become more comfortable with speaking about the word discipline and our own work ethic, really, like our own dedication to ourselves, because this is not about anyone else here. You going to that social event, or you taking the action to grow your business, or you going to, cook dinner instead of ordering in, or whatever the decision may be. These decisions, like, ultimately it's for you, it's your future, it's these moment to moment decisions that we make that are literally, quite literally creating your life. I've heard a lot of people talk about discipline like it's a dirty word, something that needs to be healed and eradicated and never again done or thought about or spoke about. And I just don't think that's the case. I think there's nuance to this. There's nuance to the exact same decision for one person, or even the same person in one context, in one week of the month, in one moment of the cycle even, can be helpful, and in a completely, opposite moment, the same person making that same decision can be hindering. It's like me with the gym example. Is going to the gym, I don't know, on my period with 4 hours sleep and I've got loads of work to do, is that going to be helpful, or is it going to be hindering? It's going to be hindering. But going to the gym after a full day of work, sat at my desk when I've not left the house all day, and I've got another work day the next day, going to the gym that day is going to be helpful. It's going to be helpful to leave the house. It's going to be helpful to get myself moving. It's going to be helpful to release those endorphins and get that movement in my body from the day. And that is something I want to leave you with to consider with this episode, especially the next time that you have one of these scenarios, because ultimately we're building and strengthening your intuition here. The more you can intuit and decide for yourself in the moment what is best for you, the more you're building that connection and relationship with yourself. And especially the more you then respond to that and do what is actually best for you in that moment, that is all building connection with your intuition, trust in yourself, and ultimately confidence in yourself, because it's that follow through energy that you are showing up for yourself that is reinforcing a self-image, as in how you literally see yourself, as someone who puts themselves first, as someone who knows their own boundaries, knows what they need, can respond to what their body needs in that moment. So I hope this was insightful and something to consider. I would love to hear if you've had an experience with this and you agree, or maybe have an example of when you've used this, or maybe if you use this after this episode, to share that with me. Either, like I said, in the replies on Spotify, you can DM me on Instagram, and I'd love to hear from you. And enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, whenever you're listening. All the relevant links you need below for working together and all of that good stuff will be in the show notes, and I'll see you in our next episode.